This is a quick overview of the grade calculator project. So what I'm going to do is just walk you through it real briefly and then let you look at the instructions and this overview again, and hopefully you'll be on your way to completing it. So all we're doing is creating a grade calculator so you can keep track of your grades as you go through the semester. So here's one format. I've listed all the assignments here that you're going to be responsible for. This is kind of a summary, and over here is the extra credit. Another way you could set it up is something like this. I've just moved everything around a little bit if that makes more sense to you, or you could do it a narrower view, whatever you'd like. So I'm going to walk you through setting up this one, and use the same steps no matter what format you use. And if you have one of your own that you like, that's fine too, as long as you include everything that's on this page. So the first step, I just typed in the labels just so I know what I'm going to be working with. This is my basic layout, and all I'm doing is typing. The second step, I put in some background colors, a heading that's merged and centered so it's like one big cell. Made these headings, put some backgrounds colors on them, put a border around everything just to make it look a little bit nicer. And then for your benefit, I've typed in where formulas are going to go, just so you can keep in mind where you're going to have to write formulas. And then because the syllabus doesn't talk about how many miscellaneous extra credit points we're going to have, I just put a 10 in here. I don't know how many we'll have. Sometimes other opportunities pop up, but it won't be more than 10 points. The third step, I've put in all the maximum points for each assignment. So I just typed these in. The syllabus quiz is worth 20 points, the project quiz and reflection, that's at the end of the semester, all of the quizzes, the projects, and the extra credit. So I just put in all the maximum points. And the next spot, I've put in all the formulas. So now you can see that if this changes to an 18, this value changes, this value changes, and the grade changes. So let's make a bigger difference. Say you got 50 on the Tableau 2 assignment, this changes over here, and your grade changes. So I've added that. Another thing I've added is a VLOOKUP. And so what a VLOOKUP does is it lets you look at this grading scale. So I've created a grading scale here. I typed this in, and when I highlight it, I gave it a name. So if I click off of it and I say, where's my grading scale? It says, oh, your grading scale is right there. So I put in the grading scale, and I made it a named range by giving it that name. So now I create a VLOOKUP, and anytime this grade changes, let me change another value. It jumps over to this grading scale page, looks up what 83.4 should be, and says, okay, I see it there, I'm going to return this grade, and that grade is in this second column. So you're going to have to understand the VLOOKUP function and how that works. So let me put back our grades here and show you one other thing. Right now, in this situation, you've earned perfect scores on everything. The maximum required points are 615, so you have 108%. But in the instructions it says you don't want to earn more than 100%. So in step 5, I added an if statement here that says if the value is greater than 100%, just display 100%. Otherwise, display the value as calculated. So if I reduce these values, you can see all of a sudden it displays 91.9. If I go back, put it back to 100%, I get back to 100% on here, not 108% or anything over 100%. The other thing I added here is data validation. So if I click on the cells, it's going to tell me it's a 20-point quiz and the valid scores needs to be between 0 and 20. So if I enter a negative number, it's going to say no, you have to enter one within the reasonable range. So if I add 30, the same thing. It's only going to let me add scores between 0 and 20. And that's going to be set up for the reflection survey, 5 points, 10-point quizzes, 50, 100, and 10 points. So if I adjust my screen for a minute and I go to home and then I go to find and select data validation, these are all the cells that have data validation set on them. The other thing that I've done in this screen is added cell protection. So what that means is that when the protection is on, I can only change these earn point values. I can't change any formulas or labels or max points, nothing like that. So I can change this to 15, but I can't change that. And I can't change any of the labels or any of the formulas. So on this screen over here, I've just highlighted these cells that are protected. So in addition to the labels, these cells cannot be modified once the protection is on. The only cells that can be modified are these ones where you're entering points. So hopefully this gives you some idea of what you're going to be working on. And again, you can watch this overview, and then I'll add some individual tips below this on the overview page that should help you get started.